Hello, welcome to Native Yoga Center. My name is Todd McLaughlin, and today I want to show you some tips and tricks on how to practice UTTANA PADASANA, raised leg pose, sometimes also called intense foot stretch pose. I also want to let you know I have a new course. Click in the description below, and it's called 8 and 8 Learn 8 Limb Yoga in 8 days. It's totally free. And I teach you over an 8-day period, the beginning elements of the Ashtanga yoga practice, really easy to learn, step by step. At the end of the 8 days, you'll be self-sufficient in your own yoga practice. Check it out. Let me know what you think. All right. So let's go ahead and begin. The Utthana Padasana is a pose that comes in the finishing series in the Ashtanga primary or second series. In this Ashtanga series, we have the closing series, and this is the last pose. It's the 7th pose in a series called the shoulder stand series. The pose that we practiced just prior to Utthana Padasana is Matsyasana, fish pose, and Utthana Padasana is where we balance lifting the legs in the air, and you bring the palms together and you reach your hands in the direction of your toes. You keep your legs totally straight. Try to get your feet to point. You keep your legs together. You still try to lift your chest and pull your belly in. Strengthen your abs, strengthen your quads, strengthen your hip flexor muscles, and open the chest. Breathe through your nose. Expand your chest and rib cage. And we would hold, or we do hold, for 8 breaths in this posture according to the Ashtanga primary series. Well, how can I do that if that's really hard? So let me show you a couple ways you can do it. Now, one thing that's very similar about this pose, can you think of another pose in the primary series that this reminds you of? The one that it makes me think of is the boat pose, Navasana. So it's a lot like Navasana, but see how my arms are here? I just take my arms here. And then the other main ingredient is that we're now doing a spinal extension and holding. So it has a lot of the similar characteristics of benefits that come with Navasana, boat pose, ab strength. Number one, you're practicing holding your legs in the air. Now, as you shop around, different yoga styles, you'll see the leg raise pose practiced here with the back on the floor. Now, how high you raise your legs does change where the strength is being applied greatest. And so if you're starting off low, I really like to do this pose actually with the head lifted a little bit. Sometimes it's called hollow body pose, and it's a great way to strengthen the abdomen. So if you have back pain, I don't recommend you doing the Utthana Padasana in the back bend. Probably when we have back pain, what we want to start to figure out is neutral spine, core engagement without putting a lot of pressure on the vertebral discs. So it's a really good idea to stabilize through a flat back. If you lie down on the floor and you just start practicing lifting your legs and see if you can straighten your legs. If your legs are vertical, it takes very little ab strength. As soon as your legs fall forward at the tipping point of the hips, the pelvis, this is where it starts to get more challenging because your abs have to contract to hold your core stable, and your hip flexor muscles, your psoas, iliopsoas, iliacus, psoas major, minor. When you lower the legs down, psoas has to squeeze really strong. So one way you can practice as well, because the neck, putting pressure on the neck can be really kind of rough actually for some of us, because in the fish pose, what we do is we go back and we place the top of the head onto the floor. And so one way we can practice fish is by coming up on our elbows. So if you're holding on your elbows and working the deep breathing through the nose to open the chest, you can just kind of follow through into Utthana Padasana, where you take your legs vertical and hold here. That way my neck is relatively neutral, no major pain going on, and you can strengthen your hip flexors and your abs by holding your legs in the air. So this is a really good pose that can generate some heat in the body for certain. and is an auxiliary way to strengthen your abdominal muscles. The preceding 5 poses were all neck flexion poses that we practice in the primary series. In the closing series, for example, the first one being the shoulder stand, the second, the plow, the third, the Utthana Padasana, the fourth, the Urdhva Padmasana, the fifth, the Pindasana. Now 6 and 7 comes into the Matsyasana and the Utthana Padasana. So these 2 poses are complementary in that you're going backward and able to open the chest. So this is a good way. You might be familiar, but let me point out that one way I made mention in a previous tutorial on fish pose Matsyasana is that you can practice Matsyasana like this. Another way that you can kind of build up to Utthana Padasana and have somewhat of the shape of the Matsyasana is to practice with a little bolster under your back. Another way that we can practice these poses is I'm going to actually start to let my head relax back. So another way that I can do this is taking the bolster a little more down. Make sure you don't fall off the bolster. You can use your hands on the floor. You can start to work the head back position by just resting it on the bolster. And you can work your leg raise, strengthening here. In relation to back pain, and more specifically lumbar back pain, this pose can be a little bit, how do I say, brutal, because if you have, let me just pick a classic spinal condition, stenosis. That's a narrowing of the passageway where the spinal cord goes through. When that gets narrowed and it pushes on the spinal cord, it's brutal. So what we want to attempt to do in that situation is keep more of a neutral lumbar spine position. And when we go into the Utthana Padasana, what ends up happening is we're practicing an extension pose, back bend pose, and then we're loading the back bend up with abdominal pressure. And so if you have a sensitive or painful lower back, leave the back bend part out, in my opinion, and start off in the flat back position. And then just maybe in the beginning, you just come down this low. Or on some days, you might even just support a little bit behind the legs and just hold, taking your legs away from you in this action. And this is a way you can start to strengthen the abs and psoas, the hip flexors, without having too much pressure on your back. And this way, like right now, I'm able to keep my back flat. As soon as I start to bring the legs away, the pelvis does an anterior tilt, which will bring the lumbar into a little bit of extension. Then on top of it, because the legs are heavy, that weight is called what we can call loaded extension. And so when we're healing our backs, giving it enough time for the inflammation to go down and toning the core so that we have stability, then we want to avoid loading the extension. So I want to point these different aspects out because it's important that as you're navigating your yoga practice, you can make these little fine-tuned tweaks and adjustments so that you can continue to practice and feel healthier. And so I hope this information helps. And if you have a specific issue going on, I like to try to problem solve and help students problem solve. And so send me a note, a message, a comment, and I will address it for you to the best of my ability. And I learn things about yoga and my practice every single day, and in relation to watching other people and listening to what they say. And so through this experimentation process and the aging process and the long-term yoga practice, there's a wealth of information that I learn and I'd like to share with you. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. All right, remember, check out our website, nativeyogacenter.com, and also check out my new free course, 8 in 8. So excited, I just launched it this week, and it's designed to help make your yoga practice self-sufficient and relatable, and in a short enough time that you can still, you know, have a busy life and get your yoga practice happening every single day. Cool. Have a great day. Hope you enjoy. Namaste.